The following BLTV program is brought to you by O'Flaherty Law. Please enjoy.
Welcome to Learn About Law. My name is Kevin O'Flaherty from O'Flaherty Law, and today we're going to explain how to remove a child from the parent's custody and how to report child abuse and neglect to the DCFS. So first, let's talk about what the DCFS is. The Illinois Department of Children and Family Services is responsible for investigating reports of child abuse or neglect, working with families to solve the root problems that cause child abuse and neglect, and if necessary for the protection of the child, referring cases to the Illinois State's Attorney Office to remove the child from the parent's custody. So let's talk about who is actually required to report child abuse or neglect to the DCFS. The Abused and Neglected Reporting Act lists several dozen professionals that often work with children that have a legal obligation to report child abuse and neglect. Generally, this includes educators, daycare workers, medical professionals, psychologists, and counselors. Failure to report when you are required to do so is a Class A misdemeanor, and if you have multiple failures, the penalties increase from there. Let's discuss how to report child abuse or neglect. Whether you are a professional that's required to report, a concerned family member, or just an unrelated third party who's concerned for the well-being of the child, you can call the free hotline for the DCFS, 800-25-ABUSE. That's 800-25-ABUSE. Your name is kept confidential when you report, and it's not reported to the parents. Let's discuss what happens once a case is actually reported to the DCFS. The first step is a caseworker from the Division of Child Protection will make an initial investigation and an initial determination as to whether the report is a good faith indication of abuse or neglect. Usually when doing so, the reporter will speak to the alleged victim and the caseworker will speak to the alleged victim and to the person who reported. If they find that there is a good faith indication that supports potential child abuse or neglect, they will initiate a formal investigation. If they don't, they will drop the report. Let's discuss now what happens during an investigation of child abuse or neglect. So once we have a formal report after the initial investigation, the Division of Child Protection, the DCP, is required to complete the investigation within 60 days unless they have good cause to extend the deadline. The DCP will interview the parent or guardian as well as any witnesses, and the ultimate result of the report will end with a caseworker classifying the case as undetermined, which means they were unable to complete the investigation by the deadline, unfounded, meaning that there's no credible evidence to support allegations of child abuse or neglect, or indicated, which means that there is credible evidence to support the allegation of child abuse or neglect. So if there is credible evidence, the next step is that the case is kept in the state register for at least 5 years, and then the DCFS decides whether to refer the case to the state's attorney's office for potential removal of the child from the parent's custody, or whether to alternatively work with the family to develop a voluntary service plan to attempt to preserve the family. And this is where they get to trying to fix the root cause of child abuse or neglect. And it might include counseling or substance abuse treatment as part of the service plan. If the investigator believes that intervention is necessary to protect the child, or if the service plan is unsuccessful, then that's the point at which they will refer the case to the state's attorney's office, and request that the state's attorney file a petition to determine wardship, to determine whether to remove the child from the custody of the parents. So next, let's discuss what happens if the case actually goes to court. The first thing that will happen is a temporary custody hearing to determine whether the child will stay in the parent's custody during the pendency of the proceedings, and that ultimately hinges on the best interest of the child and whether the child is safe. Often a protective order will be entered to keep the child safe during the pendency of the proceedings, and whether the parents comply with the protective order is a heavy factor in whether they will ultimately get to keep custody of their child. Finally, there will be a final hearing to determine whether the child will remain in the parent's custody. The last question we're going to answer is whether a non-parent can initiate a court proceeding to remove a child from the parent's care. So is it the most common way to do this is to make a report to the DCFS and follow the process that we just talked about. But anybody, you don't have to be related to the child, anybody can file a petition to determine wardship. And when this happens, the state's attorney treats this like a request from the DCFS to file the petition. And once the petition is filed, the state's attorney then takes over the investigation. So if you're concerned for the well-being of a child, you can either go through the DCFS reporting process, or you can directly file a petition to determine wardship. So if you have any questions, you can leave them in the comment section below this post at learn-about-law.com or below the video on our YouTube station. If you need some help, give us a call at 630-324-6666. That's 630-324-6666. We offer free consultations, and we have offices all around Chicagoland for your convenience. If you found this helpful, please subscribe to us on YouTube, iTunes, and SoundCloud, and you'll be notified of our daily article and video posts. Thank you so much for watching and listening.
Thanks so much for watching our video. If you have any questions, feel free to comment below. Click the subscribe button for new videos every week, and download and review us on iTunes. Visit learn-about-law.com for other legal-related articles and videos. Visit our business podcast and video blog, seizeyourbusiness.com, and visit Making Real Estate Fun for real estate videos and podcasts. Call us at 630-324-6666 for a free consultation.